Well, hey, Gundamaniacs! Welcome to the Gundam Explained Show Live. I'm your host, Adam Blue, and joining me, like always, Steven of Midnight Hatter. Steven, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going? Good day so far. I'm not going to complain. So, and it's always a good evening when you can start it off after a long day of work, fire up some Gundam Explained, and see
Yeah,
what's new.
yeah, and also, I always like the reminder that it's Friday Junior. My new boss will say that a lot. She'll be like, hey, happy Friday Junior. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? It is Friday Junior.
Yeah,
It
that's okay.
is.
I'll take it.
Yeah, no, speaking of, I was just telling you, like at work, we did this trivia thing, and we were all turning on our cameras. Normally, when I'm using Teams, my background is blurred, just to keep people aren't like, oh, what's that? But it Zoom was required, I guess, for this trivia thing, and so my background wasn't blurred. I didn't really care, and then my boss was like, oh, are those Gundams? My son loves or her, I guess he's older now. You loved Gundam. I'm like, okay, huh. So I was like, I'll have to later ask her about that.
Yeah, there you
Um,
go.
yeah, I always love those little things that happen, you know. Um,
Except when she says it condescendingly, like, "Oh, my kid likes those things that you have on display." It's
no, it Gundam is interesting. I'm telling you,
yeah,
it's like when you tell someone you like Star Wars, it's like they get it. But if
right.
you tell someone I like Gundam, they're like, huh? What? And
Yeah,
then
my
even if
wife's always like, "Do you really, like, get on your Teams meetings at work with your action figures behind you? Like, is that professional? Do you really think that that's appropriate?" I'm like, "It's not like I've got waifu statues or something behind me, like,
okay,
they're robots. It's cool."
that's a good one. No, that makes sense. And even if someone happened to know what Gundam is, I'd be afraid that their only point of reference would be like Wing, and then
Yeah,
I'd almost have to excuse myself and be like, "Well, if you know Gundam, it's Universal Century." Just
right.
just clarifying. I like No, I'm joking.
Right.
No, it's well, okay. So crazy week, crazy week. I talked about it like last week. I think where my office flooded, and I didn't find out until a little later, but my work laptop got destroyed because of that. But
Mm.
luckily it was under a warranty. So, and like they sent me the box yesterday and then I sent it or that day. And then the next day they're like, oh yeah, we got it. We're working on it. So that's
See,
nice.
that's sweet. See,
Um,
that's why you use credit cards, right? It's like because when you screw up with your debit card, that's
oh
your money. But when you screw up with a credit card, that's their money.
yeah,
It's the
yeah,
same thing with like a work laptop. Like if I had to choose which computer I wanted to get run over by a truck, it would probably be my work computer. Now I have some personal stuff on there, but I don't have
yeah.
to pay for it.
No, that's a good point. And I mainly use my desktop for I have two desktops, one for like this and gaming and the other one for
Ooh,
work.
big guy. And then 2
Well,
desktops.
well, it's funny
Gee,
because
Adam, your mom lets you have 2
well,
desktops.
listen, I shouldn't. Speaking of moms, my wife, I shouldn't have, because the deal was I buy this new. This was 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. I forget when I bought this new gaming PC. I forget, and then the deal was I would sell my old one. No one would buy it. So I'm like, hey, no one's buying it. I guess I'll just have two computers, and
There you
and
go.
I turned the other one into a server for the Gundam shows, and then I was like, no, I'll use it for work too because it's not used for anything else for work.
Yeah.
Because I like to keep that stuff separate. And so I have the work laptop, but it's mainly if I'm moving around the house or going to the office or going out of town. But so here's what's crazy. So that happened to the laptop, and then I had this like carded Star Wars figure that fell behind a bookshelf, and so the card got all wet, but I didn't mind. It's not bad.
Yeah.
But then the Yak Doga that Goose got me, I noticed
Oh, no.
within the plastic, I guess the moisture of the water got in and soaked the box. So I had to open the plastic and open the box, and everything is soaked, everything's wet. And I'm like, I can't believe this happened. But nothing's destroyed, uh, thankfully.
Well, now we can canonically say that the Toga is an amphibious mobile suit.
Ah, very good. I'm glad you went there. Okay. I'm glad you went there because we will be talking about an amphibious mobile suit that you might not have heard of. Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so okay. So with all this stuff that you know what? Before I go in deeper of the story, let me just say, sup, Zionic Shadow, good to see you. Westbourne Eastbred, good to see you. Mech Dio, Mitch Davis. Good to see you. You have my birthday gift. I haven't seen you in a while, Mitch. Yeah, you need to come by. I think he texted me about coming over. I didn't respond, but so what happened was I the other day I had a gutter guy come by and a flooring guy came by. They looked at, what they needed to do for gutters to stop the water from pooling around. So they did that with the gutters and helped with the spout. They made a diversion thingy for it so the water goes somewhere else. And then the flooring guy came. Oh, but let me finish with that. So that guy comes in and he looks at everything and he's all like, "Dude, this stuff is awesome." I'm like, "Yeah, it's these robots from, I have a pod," because they see my setup. I'm like, "Yeah, it's this
Right.
podcast I do. There's these robots." They're like, "Gundam, yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. Gundam." And he's like, "Yeah, man. Oh, me and my friend, we keep talking about starting a podcast." And I'm like, "You know what? Then do it, and I will help you for
Do it.
free."
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, "Man,
See,
I'd like to."
I was gonna say your contractors were a lot cooler than mine because when when I had my boiler replaced, it has access to my garage, which has like all of my Gunpla Studio, the resin printer,
Oh,
all that stuff, and they're just like, "What is all this nerd crap down here, man? Like, don't you park your car in here?"
that's well, it gets better. Okay, so I'm telling this guy, like, you can always say you're gonna start a podcast, but you never really do until you do it. So I said, "Tell the guy you're gonna do it, and I'll help." Because I wanna all the stuff I've learned from you and from others doing Gundam Explain, I wanna, like, tell the people how to do it because it's fun. So then the flooring guy came, and then he comes in and looks. He's like, "Wow, cool stuff. You do YouTube?" And he goes, "G Fuel? You?" He's like, "Oh, are you a gamer?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm a gamer, but it's not for gaming related. It kind of is, it's through this Gundam thing." And then he goes, "Well, you know what? My friend is a G Fuel dude, and he's gonna have me help him. So I'll have to get in touch with you, and we'll figure out some way." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So in
Isn't it
2 days,
interesting how
two
we all
contractors.
everybody has their day jobs, and then they go home and they podcast about robots. It's the
Yeah, yeah,
strangest phenomena of 2023.
I
Not on
know.
my bingo card, but
No, that's what was really cool. So 2 contractors in one day, both we were able to talk something related to my setup and, maybe even helping each other out. I kind of like how that worked. Um, I lately believe in like synchronicities when so many little coincidences happen in a positive way. It's like, you know what, I'm on the right path. So
yeah.
hopefully I can help these guys out. That'd be a lot of fun. But so that means I'm going to be getting all new floors. Um, and oh, Mech Dio, welcome to White Base Crew. That is awesome.
Hey,
Um,
yeah, cheers.
and being part of the White Base Crew gets you the exclusive Discord channel. So if you happen not to get that, just let me know. GundamExplained@gmail.com. Sometimes there's issues with that, but lately it seems like it's been working. But anyway, so I'm getting new flooring, which is pretty awesome. We're upgrading. It's like this fake wood that has like, I don't know, they put like a sticker on top to make it look like wood.
It's like the
And
laminate.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's all deteriorating. And so I'm going to put ceramic tile in. And since it's not a big area, it's not super expensive. So that's good. But this means I can then redo my room again, which for those that are supporters, I have the behind the scenes videos. And I feel like the past few have been, here's my new room arrangement, where I'm
It
putting
really
it.
has been that.
Yeah.
Like, here's my new desk setup, here's the new backdrop and
And so not only am I excited to do that again, but I think I'm gonna try to be more deliberate with everything. I even already got out the graph paper, well, it was a website, and started like marking where I was gonna put like my tables and everything. And I really want to make it where, I have this little table here for hobby stuff, but I want to just make it more accessible and clean. So yeah, I'm gonna redo everything again. And this means though that like because they're gonna do the flooring on Monday. So like Sunday, I have to find a place in the house to move everything. Like all my Gundam, all my Gunpla, all my robot spirits, the glass shelving I have, like it's gonna be in the living room and kitchen, I think, for like two
you just
days.
need to rent an apartment, do like a
Yeah.
do you have extended stay Americas down there?
No,
I think they changed their name.
no, that would be, there's a hotel down the street. I just no, it's gonna be interesting because then I have my, day job and then making video content. So I think this weekend I'm gonna try to make some of the videos in advance. But by Wednesday, by the time that you go live, I should be in my new setup. So,
Well, that'll be exciting. I will
yeah.
be, we'll debut it. We'll give a huge announcement. There'll be fanfare.
Yeah, there
We'll
we go. Speaking of huge announcement, you reminded me of this yesterday on your show, but 5K subscribers on Gundam Explained, which is awesome. Like it's like
yeah.
that was like my goal when I was starting this. It's like, how can I just grow this, get people into Gundam, and it was working. And I was like, man, that's pretty awesome. So we're gonna do a giveaway, and I'll be announcing the details shortly. There's an awesome item that's been provided to give away, and I'll give details on that shortly too. So keep an eye out on like social media and in the Discord for that. But on your show yesterday, we did some pretty cool lore deep dive into something that's little looked at in Gundam, but I love it a lot, and that's the ships.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that there's a lot of content you'll find on YouTube where they talk about like deep dives about mobile suits, and I'll do deep dives about story, and you do deep dives about lore and stuff like that. But battleships is not really something that really gets a lot of love, and so I was really happy to find that resource that was like, hey, here's all of the stuff about the Musai that you need to know.
Yeah, and that was fun going through that. So anyone wants some lore on like the ships and stuff, check out Steven's channel that showed yesterday. Links in the description. But also for supporters, they can get an STL file of a Musai that right,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it even has
this
the
one in
removable.
right here.
Yeah, that is
Yeah, it's
sick.
got, rotating cannon turrets. It's got the removable Komusai capsule, and then it's got a hangar bay door that you can take out. But,
Yeah,
you
that.
know,
Oh, I love that.
read
That
all about it on Patreon, or just check out the stream yesterday. We talked about that, especially, given that the size issues with fitting mobile suits inside of said hangar. I felt like an idiot after I did it because I was like, "Oh, I."
But those are things people we just kind of don't know, unless someone makes a YouTube video about it. So
Right.
I no, well, although to be fair, Mark Simmons had that on his website, but who reads websites anymore? That's
Yeah,
that's
Hey,
unfortunate.
you have to make a video about it and
Yeah, and then clip it into under a minute and give all the
right.
lore.
And then there's
Nah,
gotta
that's
be captions on it and
yeah,
emojis.
yeah, exactly. No, but no, that was a good time yesterday. So if you guys missed out on that, definitely check it out. So I want to ask, did you do stuff for Halloween? I forgot if we talked about it yesterday. I don't remember.
So, my Halloween was probably not as exciting as yours because we did get to see you streaming as the
Oh, Alucard.
white-wigged
Yeah.
as Alucard.
I mean, I guess the guy from
I thought it
Harry
was Geralt.
Potter or
So,
Gerald. But no,
but yeah,
it's
I
funny though.
love that oh, what's that?
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say it's funny because it's just like now at my age, I realize people don't know Castlevania like they used to, and I blame Konami. But
Yep.
like, I, people were like, "Who is that?" And I'm like, "It's Alucard." But then, like, you search
Dummy.
Alucard, and it shows like the Helsing Alucard first on Google
Right.
sometimes, and it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, wait a minute, what happened now?" Uh, but anyway, go on. I was cutting you off.
No, no, not at all. And you know what? That's similar story. So, we took my daughter out for her first time trick or treating. We only went to like, 4 houses, but
That's cool.
because
That's
she
cool
was
though
exhausted.
to
She was a little
experience.
cow,
Yeah,
which was fun.
that's
But yeah,
that's cute.
same thing is like we had some trick or treaters come to our door and I was like, "Oh, Moana, right?" And they were like, "No, we're Lilo and Stitch." And I was like, "Oh, I'm that guy now.
Yeah.
I'm the boomer that's answering the door that's like, "Oh, are you a Ninja Turtle?" And it's like, "No, I'm obviously Rodney Reptile, moron." Like,
Oh, so someone came to the doors, Lilo and Stitch?
yeah, so I didn't get it at first because it was 2 kids. There was a little girl, and then she had a little brother that was in a, like a baby carrier, and so she was Lilo, and the little brother
Ah,
was Stitch, but he was, like, in the baby carrier, so I was like, "Oh, I
that makes
didn't
sense.
realize."
And aren't those main characters Pacific
Yeah.
Islanders anyway? Although lumping that in could cancel me, I don't know, but I
There you go. There you go. Yeah, well, at least you didn't do it in the first 5 minutes of the stream, no one's gonna
oh,
watch it.
sure, sure, that's right.
But, but no, it was a
Yeah,
fun Halloween,
that's
and
cool.
then, like I said, once we got home, I was like, "Oh my god, someone's streaming RoboCop."
Oh, yeah. So that's what I decided to do because my son wasn't feeling that great, so he didn't wanna go trick or treating, so I decided, well, I'll dress up. I wanted to go out and dress up but I was like, you know what? I'll do it from home for the trick or treaters. So I set up a webcam, the one that usually will look down at my office. I had it looking at the front door, and then I was just playing RoboCop, waiting for trick or treaters. It was pretty fun, but like only a couple people came total. I
It
it's it my neighborhood. It's weird. I'm right across the street from the elementary school, like literally. I know people will
Oh,
sometimes be
wow.
like, "Oh, I'm across the street from," elementary school. I'm across the street from the school, but no, I literally across the street. And I would think because of that there would be so many kids, but no. I think the neighborhood I'm in was generally for older people for the longest
Mm.
time, but now it's slowly mixing in since the elementary school was built, kids, but still not enough yet. I'm hoping, and it's interesting because there's a lot of babies in the neighborhood. So maybe one day it will be full of older
Yeah,
kids and I can
it'll
still
take off.
be here and give out candy because I love dressing up. I
It's fun, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's like that makes me think cosplaying could be cool. But the thing is, after about an hour, I'm like, okay, I can take this off. I've had my fill of dressing up.
Right, like, when I get, like, 2 or 3 drinks in and I start, like, loosening the tie or, whatever it is. I think, so one year, my wife and I were Bob and Linda Belcher from Bob's Burgers,
Oh,
and I grew out a mustache, but then I also had a fake mustache that I wore on top of it, and just, like, as I was drinking throughout the night, I was like, "Ah, this is really uncomfortable," and it was like this big review what am I thinking? Oh, it's like, if you ever watch wrestling, there's that wrestler Sting that has the white
yeah.
face paint,
Uh-huh.
and there's, like, a running gag where he'll hide in the audience wearing, like, a plastic mask of the Sting face paint, and,
Oh,
like, he'll
yeah.
hit someone with a chair and then take the mask off, and he's got the mask underneath. That's how I
I've
felt
seen that.
like when I took the mustache off, was like, "Still got it."
I thought you were gonna go with like Superman. I guess is wrestling your thing? You know some wrestling lore, don't you?
Yeah, I was a big, wrestling kid in the '80s, '90s, so but,
You know what?
I feel like you fell into one of 2 camps when you were a kid, like,
What's that? Wrestling or Ninja Turtles?
yeah, wrestling or, like, cartoons, right? Like, and
Definitely
then
cartoons here.
and then they converge into anime, like,
Oh, yeah,
wrestling
that's true. That's
it's
wrestling is just like, anime is just a cartoon of wrestling, really,
yeah,
I think at the end of the day.
and
The
and then
drama,
it's just a grown-up version of, like, your Ninja Turtles, your Power Rangers,
yeah.
yeah.
No, that's a good point, yeah, because for me, during I remember when wrestling was on TV, like, I liked Hulk Hogan, that was always, like even though I never watched it,
Yeah,
he was just a cool, like, superstar, but, yeah, I was watching Ghostbusters, Ninja Turtles, Inspector Gadget, all that stuff, and then segued into video games. I
yeah.
totally missed out. Oh, it was funny because on that call I was telling you about where my boss mentioned Gundam, and I was like, "Yeah, I just got into it." And then another guy said, "Well, it's been around for like 40 years. How did you just get into it?" And I'm like, "Damn, that guy, someone else knows something about Gundam."
And he's an a-hole about it, then he must be a real Gundam fan. It's
That's pretty good. Nah, that's good. Um, but yeah, you know what? Uh, Speaking of streaming that RoboCop game, that's actually a good game. So if anyone is
Yeah.
interested in playing it, it's good in the context of like if you know and like RoboCop, you are gonna like this game. It kind of reminds me of um when we talk about how to make a Gundam game, make it look and feel like Gundam. And
Yeah, it's I think that there's 2 different versions of fan service, right? There's, like, the gross, icky kind of fan service, and then there's the fan service that, like, people really want. Like, what I love about the RoboCop game is you get well, spoilers, but, like, you get Ed 209, you
yeah,
get, like, the standout kind of, the bad guys that you're familiar with. Um, Kane, not so much, but, I
yeah.
mean, you do get Kane.
They have the new
Uh,
stuff going on in there. Yeah.
yeah, but, yeah, I mean, that's all Gundam fans want in a Gundam video game is something that feels like Gundam. And,
Yeah.
there's been some amazing Gundam games in the past, and there's some great ones out right now. I think that you and I both agree that like Rise from the Ashes literally makes
Mm.
you feel like you're in a Gundam.
Yeah, oh man, I totally forgot I had recently played through that and did that review. I missed that game. I wanna go back to that. That would be cool if it's interesting because I don't see people mod Gundam games as much in terms of, like, let's
Yeah,
take this mechanic that's never used and just, like, build on top of it. Again, I don't know if it's hard because of engine or yeah, if you're just playing a ROM on from a console game, usually it's harder to mod something like that compared to a PC native game.
true,
Um,
true.
but
But I
it's
mean,
interesting
people
because it
do it
reminds
for,
me,
like, N64 games, like, people do it for Ocarina of Time and stuff all the time, like, they'll
oh,
make
really?
emulator yeah, I mean, you have, like, Ocarina of Time randomizers and things like that, and so that's
Oh
why,
yeah,
sometimes I get bothered by, like, when communities start to get real aggressive about, like, "Well, we supported this game," and it's like, I mean, how much did you really support the game? Because I can play a game in my basement for 12 hours a day, and that really isn't contributing to
yeah.
everyone else's enjoyment of it.
It
Um,
that is interesting because I think it was on Twitter there was a discussion going on, and I didn't read the whole thing, so maybe fill me in on that in a second. But I just remember one thing someone was saying they came out with SD Gun and Battle Lines, but it wasn't that great. And so I just responded with because this is something I find interesting. It's like, well, SD Gun and Battle Alliance just pretty much lifts its gameplay mechanics from Marvel Ultimate Alliance. That is
yeah,
isn't that critically acclaimed? All each one? And
yeah,
it so it's interesting how much then of Marvel Ultimate Alliance and SD Gundam Alliance, at the end of the day, it's really the IP and not the
mhm,
gameplay.
right,
I like sometimes someone might find a game fun, and we've talked about this, but not to like this kind of nuanced detail where like I feel like SD Gundam Battle Alliance, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, they have the same mechanics, yet they are a little like B grade. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
still good, but B grade. Yet the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, people love it. And I think it's more of, oh, I'm all these Marvel characters. SD
right.
Gundam Battle Alliance, it's like, well, it's that mechanic, but I'm these little SD robots from Japan. I don't. Does that sound
Y
right to you? What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, and I think you and I had the conversation yesterday. I don't remember if it was on stream. It was probably off stream where you said, like, for instance, the Fallout video games, Fallout 3, Fallout 4,
Hmm.
fun video games. You and I both enjoy them, but like we're just not into the post-nuclear
Yeah.
wasteland setting. And so it's like if you took those same mechanics, the VATs, the first person shooter elements, all of that stuff, and you just change the setting, how many more people would it attract, and how many people would it turn off? And, I think that that was kind of what and it's a mutual friend of the channel, New Type Seiji, who
Oh
brought it
yeah.
up on Twitter, really just saying like, "Hey, guys, just give Gundam games a chance." Like,
Yeah.
even if they don't look like your thing, use the IP because this is exactly what your point is. The IP is supposed to make you latch on to the gameplay, even if it's not gameplay that you necessarily would enjoy otherwise.
Right.
And for me, my point was like there was a case in point where someone said like, "Oh, I didn't even try Code Fairy because I didn't care," and I was like, "That's exactly what Seiji's saying. Is like Code Fairy is one of those games that you and I both loved it,
Yeah.
because it's all of the technicality and the nuance that goes into GBO2, but a campaign mode, which
Yeah.
is like
Exactly.
all I would want.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people were turned off by it and didn't give it a chance, which sucks because it was a sleeper hit.
Yeah. It's one of those things sometimes I think about where, you know, when GoldenEye came out, I think that was still a time where a first person shooter was the perspective, but the mechanics could be different from game to game. GoldenEye, as a first person shooter, had different mechanics than what all first person shooters are today. Like they're just,
It's true.
and I feel like maybe that's the struggle anyone would have kind of with or at Bandai, especially with the Gundam game. Like, what are the mechanics to make it a Gundam game? If it's GBO2, that does alienate a lot of people. So,
Yeah.
even though I think it's really good. So then like what is it that you do to make it where it's its own unique gameplay, but it attracts a large audience? Because GoldenEye was the perfect formula. You were James Bond, and that's the thing with GoldenEye, like being James Bond made it feel good.
And I would say that you didn't have to be a James Bond fan to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that's one of those rare instances where it's like if you like the IP, you're gonna enjoy playing as James Bond. If you don't like the IP, you're still gonna enjoy the GoldenEye multiplayer.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
and that's a high demand, you know,
Mhm.
to say, well, every company should be capable of making a video game that attracts both core audience fans and people who are not fans of the IP, like that is a once in a 10-year span type deal. Like not a lot of games can pull that off, and not a lot of IPs can pull that off. Gundam, I think, has the potential to do it,
It does.
but you know,
Yeah, that's why I think with SD Gundam Battle Lines doing things SD wasn't the right. If they made it where it looked like some military robot shooter or, brawler, whatever, combat game, that would have helped it a lot more. But the
yeah.
rumor that I think we heard from Goose apparently, where it's like if it's a random Gundam game, if they want to mix all the properties, it has to be SD style.
So
But I don't know.
that's not the first time I've heard that too. So
Yeah,
I'm wondering if there's some
truth to
credence
that.
to that. Now, as always, I don't want to spread Gundam disinfo,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's interesting that you see these kind of strange SD offshoots like MS Saga on
Yeah.
PS2, which that one was an SD title, but barely used anything Gundam at all. Just the suit designs, really.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because I'm just thinking of like, they made Dynasty Warriors into a Gundam game, and part of it
But
too
that
is
wasn't SD.
what's that?
But Dynasty Warriors wasn't SD, and it
And
had
it had
stuff
a
from
yeah.
multiple
And I wonder if
properties.
it had to do with it being made by a different company or something like that, where, it's,
Yeah.
what are they called? Something Force that makes those, warrior likes. I forget the name of the
I know
company.
it's Koei.
Yeah, yeah, and then under them, it's something Force that does the actual
Yeah,
development. I forget. Um, but yeah, so and then because I remember hearing people complaining about UC Engage. Well, not that I hear people complaining about it. It's just in the certain Discord, someone will post like the negative comments all the time, and
yeah,
it's where people are like, well, it's not really a game, and it's like, well, it's not really supposed to. So Bandai knows how to
yeah,
make their advertising games, but not their RoboCop Rogue City. That's
exactly.
that's what we
Well,
need. Yeah.
and a lot of people, again, it's this misconception about what like, everyone thinks that Bandai develops everything, but like you said, Bandai will license out to different companies to develop certain games. They do some stuff in-house, and then even within Bandai Namco Entertainment,
Yeah.
you've got several different divisions that handle different games that might never even talk to each other. So it's not like you have five guys in a room saying these are the games that we're gonna make. It's like it's all over the place.
Yeah, and again, like I feel like sometimes I'm repeating myself a lot, but it's because I'm fascinated by this. But it's like, especially with the Breaker series, if they're going to spend time with a game, are they going to maybe try to market more to Gunpla people because they want to sell the plastic kits rather than the next Elden Ring? And I do think games are harder to make to be a hit than if you already have a
True.
tried and true model like selling model kits. It's so it's a weird situation, especially fan expectation nowadays with multimedia properties. They want to have Star Wars and Jedi Fallen Order, but as Gundam. You know what I mean? Because Fallen Order is a
Yeah.
triple A production game. You know,
And
um,
they want it for 29.99.
yeah, yeah,
That
exactly, yeah,
that's always the part that gets me is, like y- I don't know. I do miss like having a blockbuster where you could rent video games and actually get to try things out without having to spend the full 60 to $80 on a brand new title. So
yeah,
I do respect that, not everyone can drop $60 on every new Gundam game that comes out. Um, but demanding that they all be free is also not that's
yeah.
also counterproductive.
That's interesting. There was a discussion, I forget where I was talking about this, but, like, these services are now doing a lot of, like, ad-free or not ad-free. It's like a streaming service, but there's the ad tier where it's cheaper
Yeah.
and they make more money, but then if you were to add all the services together, you're just paying for what cable was in the past with ads.
Yeah.
And then that made me think about how I would cherish a game more if I went to a rental store, like you're saying, and like, okay, what am I gonna spend my money on? And e- I think it is interesting that the rental services are gone, but then they have something that's just as much as like Game Pass.
Yeah,
If you think about the cost of Game Pass versus renting something every weekend, uh, but it's not like everything, you know.
right.
Luckily, RoboCop had a demo. That's why people were like, "Wow, this is good." Um,
Yeah, demos, I don't is it just me or like demos not really a thing lately? I mean,
it's weird how it ebbs and flows. Like there was a time with the Xbox Live Arc. Anytime there was a downloadable Xbox title, it had to have a demo. And
yeah,
then once it became common for every game to be downloadable, then demos went away. And then Sony brought it back with their tier, one of their tiers. You get like and EA, you get like 5 hours to play or something like that. And then Steam, it's usually independent developers, but Steam will then have a
right.
lot of. But I feel like it should be universal. Xbox, that used to be their mandate. I think they need to go back and make demos universal. That would
Yeah.
hold developers up to a high standard. Make sure they're delivering something that in the first 5 hours is awesome.
Not to mention demos are a powerful marketing tool.
Yeah.
I know that the hype around every RE remake game has been preceded by a demo, right? Like the
Oh
RE
yeah.
remake
Right.
titles, they drop a demo a couple of probably I think it's like 6 weeks before the launch of the
Yeah.
title, and I would bet both arms that they get a little spike in pre-orders after that demo is released.
Yeah.
They have to.
It has to. Yeah. And speaking of the gaming thing, though, actually, let me change my screen here real quick. Check this out. PlayStation Stars. I'm not too familiar with this, but I think s- Sony started a reward system with PlayStation called PlayStation Stars. One time I went into my app and it said like you've earned a star or something, and I had no idea what it was talking about. But apparently, on November 30th, PlayStation Stars is celebrating the anniversary of Gundam, and users will be able to earn a Gundam collectible by launching Mobile Suit Gundam Battle Operation 2. Be on the lookout for this one
Sweet.
later this month. I I find that, and I guess it's just like maybe you get a 3D thing. I don't know much about PlayStation Stars, but I
Neither do
find it
I.
interesting that Bandai and Sony collabed on something that's outside, I don't know. It, I don't know much about this, yet Bandai was willing to market Gundam through it. I find it very interesting. Have you heard of it?
No, this is all news to me.
Yeah. I they're just showing a 3D model here that's just moving. Like,
And it's an interesting like A-frame pose. Like that looks like one of the poses of like the Unreal Engine 3D models that they use.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it could be that they just, made it real quick. They used Chat GPT and like, hey, make a Gundam, and no, I'm just joking. Um, they laid off the actual artist. No, I'm making all that up. I don't think that happened. Um, I, I just when I see something like this, I feel like this has to be part of something. Like, what does Bandai just randomly do some sort of marketing thing with a company? Usually, I think it would be with like uh, something else. Like, are we going to get more? Maybe just more GBO2 drops happening.
Yeah, and I know that survey went around asking fans of GBO2 like, hey, what are you looking for in the game? Would you like to see some AU suits
Oh, yeah, that's
incorporated
right.
into GBO2? Um And so, yeah, if you guys haven't filled that out, it's still available. So yeah, hit up the GBO2 Twitter account and you can fill that out for yourself. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely some sort of like, trying to plan out next steps.
Yeah, in I did hear the rumor that a game or 2 announcement got delayed. So, like,
Mm,
I'm curious what these Gundam games coming up might be. It's interesting because on Call of Duty, they just came out with skins for, Dune 2, or
interesting.
Dune Part 2 or whatever
Yeah,
that got delayed till next year.
I
So
fell asleep through the first one.
Yeah, it was good, but a little slow for me. But anyway, it's interesting though that that actually happened with the first movie too. They had to delay the first movie, and the action figures already went out on the shelves. And then for the second movie, the video game marketing is happening, and the game's not coming out until later. It's very interesting to see this actually happen a lot.
And it's gotta be so hard for a film franchise like that when it's like you probably have some twists and some plot elements that you want kept secret, but then once the toys come out and, you see, "Oh, well, that's so and so's face, so obviously they're the bad guy." Like, it's
Yeah.
um,
It
I don't envy marketers in that position because, even the level of marketing that I do, I don't have to deal with
oh, like
that type of complexity and juggling different departments and saying like, "Well, hey, you guys can't go to market yet because the movie got delayed, so we have to delay the game, and then these action figures can launch Q1, but these ones have to go Q4." Like, it's
yeah, that's a lot to have to deal with a brand synergy across different things. I got to say
Mhm,
though,
good word.
the Call of Duty skins are pretty cool because, and I might have mentioned this, you get a character and then they'll come with a gun that's custom to them, and sometimes it will shoot rounds that look unique. And when they hit an enemy, they look unique. And when you
That's
kill an
cool.
enemy, they die in a unique way. Um, and I have Ash from Evil Dead. It's amazing that they did that. Um, but when you do your it's not called a fatality. It's like a finishing move. That you, if you hold down melee behind an enemy, it's a full animation. What happens is the enemy like turns into a deadite, and then Ash kills them, and it's like,
Does he have a
wow.
chainsaw hand?
No, he okay. That's interesting. He doesn't have a chainsaw hand, but he has the chainsaw strapped to his back. So
Hmm.
at least they did that.
Is he, like, wearing, like,
No.
the power glove or anything?
So it's
No?
an inconsistent Ash. It's a
Okay.
Evil Dead 2 Ash that would have taken place after he got the chainsaw hand, but he still has his right hand. And we can make it a side story where it's he was trying to use the Necronomicon to make his hand come back, and I don't know. There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
I love that stuff. And I'll play Fortnite with my son and be Ash, and I'll be like, okay, this is the story. Ash was reading the Necronomicon, and he got transported to this world with Banana Man. And now Peely, I think, is the name of the character.
Now he's gotta drop on Tomato Town and,
Yeah.
um well, so and you mentioned this before, is, like, Call of Duty has basically morphed from being a video game into being a platform,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with something like Unreal Engine, right?
Yeah.
Unreal, like, I used to love the Unreal Championship and Unreal Tournament games, and
Yes.
then they decided, like, "Well, let's just make this something like a platform that people can build their games on."
Yeah.
Um, it makes you wonder, like, is that the future of Call of Duty? Because like, how many Call of Duties can you possibly make?
And I wonder because what happens is with each Call of Duty, they're trying to, it's like they try to capture what people like originally, it's that military shooter. But I think
Yeah.
people have evolved past the military shooter and they just like the gun aspect. Oh, getting the coolest gun to go out and fight with. And I think it's good that Call of Duty's embracing the crazy skins. At first, I was like, no, but I was like, that they need to do that. Otherwise, Call of Duty's not going to go anywhere. They still have playlists that play like bare bones old school Call of Duty. So that stuff is still there for those people. But then you get away. It's interesting. For me, Call of Duty is, yeah, like that first person shooter that when you just want to get some FPS gaming in, I just jump into Call of Duty. Like playing RoboCop, it's first person, but it is not like an action shooter. It is, but
And it's got
it's
RPG stuff in it, like leveling your character and all that.
yep. A lot of times to take in story, a lot of times you can kind of stop and think about what you want to do next. There's optional objectives. Although,
Yeah.
so this, and I can actually play it tonight, and I might do that. Modern Warfare 3 dropped its campaign early for pre-orders, and
Oh, sweet.
apparently they made it where the levels are open world designed. Um,
Oh, so they stole the Sniper Elite model.
Exactly. That's what I'm looking forward to, and the one, video I saw that reminded me of Sniper Elite was parachuting into a castle and then taking out the lights so that air
Nice.
support could come in and stuff, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, this is the type of stuff I like to do," so
See, so now the GBO2 devs should take a page out of that Call of Duty book, right? Because if they do decide to incorporate AU mobile suits into GBO2, then they should give you the option to enter lobbies that are UC only or what have you.
I
Um,
I think so. I think they should have like a you choose like UC or after colony AC, and when you pick that, then you choose like what game mode. Um, or I wonder if it's just there's quick match and then there's series battles, and then you go to series battles, and then that's where you can choose the specific
well, and
battles.
like, some of those mobile suits from the AUs, they really don't behave because GBO2 has that unique blend of like almost a mech simulator. Everything's a little slower, a little bit more deliberate.
Yeah,
Can you imagine a mobile suit behaving the way that like the Ultron Gundam does,
yeah,
where it can just whip its dragon fang? Like I'm sure that they have a solution for how to control it and how to do it,
yeah.
but is it just going to be the same as the Goof Heat Rod where it just whips it forward and hits an
Oh, there's
enemy?
that's true. Yeah, because to be honest, I was surprised in GBO2 when they announced the water stuff and then the flight mode. I was like, how are they gonna do that in GBO2? And then they did it, and I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
They,
they made it work.
they made it work. So yeah, I can in this again could be another good thing because it sounds more and more like they want to make GBO2 a platform. Will
Yeah,
this be the ongoing PvP of UC Gundam? And I think the intent too was it to be part of the metaverse. When you log into the metaverse, you can go play GBO2. Because it'd be cool if,
yeah.
like, GBO2 has a lobby, but wouldn't it be cooler if there was a different type of lobby where you can like showcase some of your custom mobile suit designs and like hang out with people, and
Sure, yeah.
then watch Gundam virtually? That would be
You know, you and I have discussed this a lot where it's like the number 1 and 2 question that we get as Gundam content creators is like, "What order should I watch UC Gundam in, and where can I watch it?" Which is like, if you don't buy DVDs or Blu-rays and you're not paying for any subscription services, really your only option is to pirate them
yeah,
because they're
there's no
just
other
not
option.
available to watch anywhere, and so it's like, you know, if there was a monthly fee to play the metaverse games, to log into the metaverse, which is not unheard of. People pay like
Yeah,
what, $60 a month to play World of Warcraft,
yeah,
and that is not nearly as immersive as the metaverse could be, you
right.
know. If you could imagine like a $10-15 a month, just like a Netflix charge to be in the metaverse, yeah, let them
Yeah,
watch all of UC Gundam for free, like
to have it where you get, like, special bonuses for GBO2, and then to watch any Gundam show, you walk down the city street or whatever they have designed for the metaverse, and you actually have to, like, walk past a Gunpla shop, and then walk
yeah.
into a theater, and so when you walk out, you're like, "Oh, I can actually buy this," and it's, like, two-day delivery through Prime, like, I think I think that's where they're going, and I think it could happen. Out of any company that does this stuff, I think they're the closest to both what they have already available to make it work. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
that'd be interesting. But yeah, so speaking of GBO2, I want to talk about this obscure mobile suit that they announced. It's called the Jurick, and even the text on the image here says that's an MS I've never heard of. So even they're like even saying it, and I haven't heard of it. In
Yeah, I
fact,
I I love when they get a little tongue in cheek with those.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And like when I was looking at it, I was thinking, what Jertik? Isn't it Jertik or Jeturk from Witch from Mercury? Like that was the first thing I was
I
thinking,
think it's
and
just
then
pronounced jerk.
yeah, and then I was thinking Jared,
Jer
and but
Yeah,
no,
good
let's
old
look.
water gorilla.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like a water gorilla, and so this is an amphibious mobile suit from the Universal Century Timeline. It first appeared as part of the MSVR line. First, so canonically in universe, it's first seen November of 0079. So later during that time period.
Sure.
But last seen in 0153 UC, I'm going to assume that's like the Crossbone manga or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
I-
that's definitely Crossbone
Okay.
era.
Yeah. let's see. Let me just read the history real quick. Two prototypes were constructed in August and completed in November of 0079, but production was delayed to allow Xeon engineers to concentrate on development of the GOG and Zagok amphibious mobile suits. The MSMO6 prototypes were undergoing test missions before the war ended. One unit was lost during testing, and another was captured by Earth Federation forces. 5 machines were known to have been produced during the events of Mobile Suit. Oh, yeah, Crossbone Gundam Ghost. One of the Jurick mobile suits was put on display at the Zoom Special War Museum. Huh. Ghost
Cool.
or Crossbone, and I guess maybe specifically Ghost, must have some pretty cool lore. If they have a Zoom Special War Museum, that's actually pretty neat.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, here, yeah, Water Gorilla, on point with that. That it looks,
It's like
it
a
looks,
silverback.
yeah. It's actually a pretty neat look because it really just takes from all those amphibious designs. Now, so the mobile suit variations are. It says it was a series published in March 2009. Um,
But that illustration looks much
yeah,
older than 2009.
exactly. So I
Like,
wonder how much, and maybe there's more details on it. Like this was just a collection of other unused concept art, and then they're by 2009 they're like, "Hey, you still have more?" Was it Cuneo?
yeah, I know. Poor
Okinawa?
Ukawara's just like,
Hey,
yeah,
you
here's
have
all the
more?
stuff that I drew back in 1978.
Oh, and it
Um,
even had a special appearance in one of the Build Divers.
hey,
Uh,
nice.
that's neat. Um, okay. So yeah, back to this. And there's also a MSVR, the return of Johnny Ryden.
Mhm.
Uh, that I don't know too much about. So if I see that's MSVR and then it's a manga, do they just call some manga side stories MSV? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
That's
I
switch over
think
here.
that I was under the impression that, like, so the Return of Johnny Ryden is like the manga, and then there's an MSV associated with it. Because, like, for
Ah,
instance, there is an MSVZ for like the Zeta mobile suit variations.
yeah, it's shown here, and it is called MSVR, unless
Hmm.
um yeah, that's kind of confusing. I wonder if they meant to go a different direction with that naming convention or something. Um, I mean, so
Everyone's saying you gotta read it.
yeah,
I haven't read it either, but that's because, I prefer the real Char Aznable, not
yeah.
the
No, but
No,
like that's something I mean, eventually I'm gonna want to get to that as I start getting through all these different properties.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna eventually want to get into that. Let me see if
We
it
ought to do
has.
some audiobooks of some of these mangas so that people can just watch a YouTube video. Like you said,
Oh,
people don't read anymore.
yeah, like what was it? I don't read too many comics, but I want to say there's an app for comics, obviously, I think.
Mhm.
And I think I used it one time, and I don't know if I was watching or reading a Star Wars comic or something, but it does it where it's animated, where like it moves the different cells in the panels.
Yeah,
Where
yeah, that's what the Comixology app did, but I think that
Comixology.
they were bought by Amazon.
Okay.
So it's like part of Kindle now. But yeah, they had a unique animation style that was associated with it. So it's like you couldn't just take any comic book and put it on Comixology back in the day. You had to have like a special format where it's like you can as you swipe through the comic, it'll enlarge specific panels and in a lot of ways, that's kinda cool because you get
Yeah.
to read the comic the way that the author intended you to, whereas when you open a comic book, you just get all the panels in your face, and so if there's, like, a surprise on the 2nd
Yeah.
page, you've already got it.
Yeah, I've done that where I'm opening it, I'm like, "Oh, so and so dies, but first," and then I just have to read, the yeah, and I'm not a big comic reader, but I'd like to be, and, I don't know what it is, it's like, it's the ADD or something, I can't, like, focus when there's all these things I could be looking at. Yeah, I need it fed to me in a linear fashion, but eventually I need to get, through all these because I really wanna get into these other mangas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like because there's Moon, Sentinel, in Advance of Zeta, which are awesome stories with awesome mobile suits. Yet I can't even say I've really experienced it the way it's meant to be in any of those.
It's
Um,
true, and a lot of it, has fallen the way of too many things in Gundam where they're just kind of like lost Gundam media.
yeah,
I don't know, I have a copy of the Gundam Sentinel photo novel, just the text. But like how many people actually have access to that can read it, and but it was originally a photo novel that was published serially, so
yeah.
it's like if you don't have those issues of the magazine, you don't have the images that are associated with it, you know.
You said it's just text. Is it English?
Yeah, I have the translated version.
Oh, that's very cool.
Did I
Okay.
not share it with you? I feel like an idiot.
Yeah, no, I'll have to look at it sometime. But you said there's no pictures at all.
No, no pictures, so,
Interesting. I mean, hey,
I
look,
don't know if you can struggle through it, but
I'd probably struggle, but I like the idea of, yeah, I would have to have the reference next to me, reading it. They name a mobile suit, I'd have to look it up and be like, ah, okay. Um,
yeah,
yeah,
and
I need
that's
to do
that's
that
the thing
sometime.
is, like, because 'cause you've read the Gundam novels, right?
I've read the first one of
Like
the,
Awakening.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
but that is
Tomino doesn't do a terribly great job of describing the mobile suits in the text. It's
exactly.
very much just like,
I
we
feel like
assume
it's
you
more
know
about
what it looks like.
the story and the
Yeah,
character, like describing what people are going through, not mechanical stuff. And I think it's good for that. Um,
yeah.
yeah, it does do a good job of that. Yeah, that's interesting. It is interesting thinking about the novel and how much it's less about the mechanics that I love anyway, but it's really about the world building and how the characters are reacting to everything, and
Yeah.
it's very well done. Um, well, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to sometime get through all these. I'll need to make a list. Um, I'll have to like make a list to be like, okay, Adam, sit down, read someday. We'll start here. And I even started Moon, and I got through like a few pages, and then did something else. I don't know. But have you finished any mangas yourself? Because I know you do have a few.
Yeah, both Shar and Hamon's Deleted Affair, The Federation Hooligans is another one that I've read. Yeah, I've read most of Zeta Gundam Define,
Oh, okay.
which is cool. It's got like kind of a different take on the events of Zeta Gundam,
It
which,
does.
in some ways it's kind of like I wish that those were the canon events, but you
Oh,
know,
yeah. That would be a good video for us to sync on sometime because I didn't read too much of it, but I already found the beginning to be odd of Camille's character.
yeah,
A little
he's
different.
very, very different.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was neat. All right, cool. Well, yeah, we're getting to the end here. I don't know if there's anything else we're going to talk about, and it's been crazy slow with news. Like even on the Gundam info, the last date of news was middle of October or something, and I'm like, come on,
Wow.
is there nothing? I mean, the multiverse just didn't really do much. They had the 3 episode build metaverse, and that was cool, but I feel like no one's really even talking about it anymore. It just kind of
Yeah,
came and went.
it's just another one of those things that they throw out there, and I feel like they didn't promote it as hard as some
Yeah,
of the other things out there. You mentioned this before about how, even Hathaway and Kukuru's Doan's Island, they really flew under the radar.
yeah.
If you're not really dialed into what's going on in Gundam, you're gonna miss a lot of stuff. Which, speaking of which, um, there is some new P Bandai drops coming.
Oh,
So one of the recommendations I have is they are re-releasing the Turn A Shin Gundam. This is I think that the pre-orders might have gone live today. If not, they go live tomorrow.
yeah. I
Guys,
think on yeah, I think it's like at night or something on Thursdays.
yeah, please pre-order the Turn A Shin Gundam. That is one of the best model kits that I've got. In fact, I've got him sitting right here.
Oh,
This, I think,
oh,
is
that's right. Yeah,
I mean, this is the correct design of the Turn A Gundam. It's
I see what you mean. I don't want to hate on the mustache, but the shin look. Is that specific? Is that, yeah, specifically from Build Fighters?
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
forget whose mobile suit it was, but
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to keep an eye out on, speaking of Shin, they do have Shin Matsunaga Zaku 2 on P Bandai
there
right
you
now.
go.
Um,
But yeah, I felt it necessary to make that announcement because, we always talk about that, like, uh, you and I don't personally have an issue with the P Bandai sales model, but,
right.
I feel like a lot of people feel like they miss out on stuff because P Bandai is not super expensive by Gunpla standards. It's maybe like a $10 upcharge from what you would pay for another
Right.
kit that's comparable.
And I'm glad you hold on, brought that up. Hold on one second. What the heck? My light does that. Okay. Um, Speaking of that, there was someone that, handhelds are bigger now, like third-party handhelds that play old games, like
Right,
even
the
Game Boy
ROG
games.
Ally
Well, no, like,
or
oh, what's the company? Analog. Like, they make where you can, like, play Game
Oh,
Boy games, like
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, like the emulator.
And so, think about this. You have companies that are making these devices and then putting up for pre-order, and then I came across a video where and he's a big YouTuber, and the guy was, like, slamming the company. They're like, they go up for pre-order, and then they're sold out immediately, and then they come out with color variants. They're just trying to nickel and dime us, and it's like, "No, no." It's like the same argument with P Bandai. It's like, how hard is it to manufacture and these are high-end devices. It's a high-end Game Boy and Game Boy Advanced player, like, that normally that wouldn't fly, and apparently, uh, it's legal, and they sell them, and oh my god, this light. And anyway, the guy was wanting to make the video just to complain, and then I look in the comments, and everyone's complaining. Yeah, they're purposely trying to, reduce, supply to increase demand. It's like, no, no, no. If they can they're gonna manufacture only what they know they can sell, or they're gonna lose money. So
Yeah.
I just don't get it when people, especially if people are then selling it on third party or, it's like it's not like the original company gets the money. So I still don't
Yeah,
understand that. Like,
yeah, that the scalper,
yeah,
logic.
I
Yeah.
know. Yeah, it happens. But
Oh,
anyway,
wow.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
this is a good
there are some
stream.
cool P Bandai stuff that's available now, and like I said,
Well, I'm glad you
if
mentioned that because
yeah,
I would get a Shin, turn a Shin
it
for sure.
but be ready to paint it because the chest plate is solid blue out of the box.
Oh, it doesn't have the gray.
Doesn't have the gray, so be
Oh,
ready to paint
interesting.
that gray on there.
Yeah, I might do that. Although I still have a backlog I got to work on. So, but
Don't we all?
I know. Well, anyway, everyone, thanks for joining. That did. Hope you had a good time. Podcast version will be up tomorrow. Anything else, Steven?
No, I think you hit it.
All right. Well, cool. Well, everyone, hope you enjoyed your time here. Leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't, or share the video. I think that actually helps a lot too, and to spread Gundam, really. But anyway,
Yeah,
guys,
absolutely.
thanks for watching. We'll talk later.
Cheers.